Today we'll explore a journey not to a destination on a map, but to the truest, most authentic version of yourself. This journey isn't easy. It's not always linear, and it's rarely comfortable, but it's worth every step. The path to your best self isn't about perfection. It's about courage to face your fears, embrace your flaws, and rise every time you fall. Your best self doesn't wear a mask or chase approval. It stands boldly in truth, vulnerability, and the power of human connection. So how do we start? We begin by letting go of who we think we're supposed to be and embracing who we really are. We take the hard steps, have the honest conversations, and make peace with imperfection. Because the best version of you isn't hidden, it's waiting, just beyond fear and doubt. Let's dive into what this journey might look like. Stop chasing the illusion of perfection. It's a pursuit that exhausts us, leaving little room for joy or growth. But perfection isn't the goal, it's a trap. The truth is, imperfection is not a flaw, it's a hallmark of humanity. It's what makes us real, relatable, and beautifully unique. When we embrace our imperfections, we begin to see ourselves not as broken, but as whole. Think about it, every scar, every stumble, every mistake has shaped you. They're not marks of failure, they're evidence of effort, learning, and resilience. Chasing perfection keeps us in fear of being judged, fear of falling short, fear of being exposed. But fear builds walls, and those walls keep out not only criticism, but also connection. When we let go of perfection, we make space for something far greater: authenticity. Authenticity doesn't ask us to be flawless. It asks us to be honest. It invites us to show up as we are, to share our struggles, and to celebrate our progress, no matter how messy. In the moments when you feel the pressure to be perfect, ask yourself, who are you doing this for? Most of the time, it's not for ourselves, but to meet someone else's expectations, or to protect an image that feels safer than reality. But that image isn't you. You are not your achievements or your polished exterior. You are the raw, imperfect, and evolving person underneath it all. When you embrace imperfection, you allow yourself to breathe. You stop wasting energy on appearances and start investing in what truly matters: growth, connection, and purpose. Imagine living without the constant weight of not good enough. Imagine replacing self-criticism with self-compassion. This isn't about lowering your standards or giving up on growth. It's about understanding that growth doesn't require perfection, it requires effort, curiosity, and courage. The world doesn't need you to be flawless. It needs you to be real. And the beauty of being real is that it sets others free to do the same. This is where the journey to your best self begins, with the bold, beautiful choice to embrace imperfection. Growth happens outside your comfort zone. It's a simple truth, but one that challenges us deeply. The comfort zone feels safe, predictable, and familiar. It's where we know the rules, where we avoid risks, and where the stakes feel manageable. But comfort, while soothing, doesn't inspire change. It keeps us where we are, not where we're meant to go. Choosing courage over comfort means stepping into the unknown. It means facing fear and uncertainty, not because they disappear, but because you've decided they won't stop you. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the decision to act despite it. Think about the moments in your life when you grew the most. Were they easy? Probably not. Real growth often comes in those moments of discomfort, when you're stretched beyond what you thought you could handle. It's the difficult conversations you didn't want to have but needed to. The opportunities you almost didn't take because they scared you. The times you stood up, spoke out, or tried something new, even when your hands were shaking. These are the moments that shape us. Every time you choose courage, you expand what's possible for yourself. You learn that fear isn't a stop sign, it's a guidepost, pointing you towards something meaningful. The discomfort you feel when you're growing isn't a sign you're doing something wrong. It's a sign you're alive, pushing boundaries, and stepping closer to your potential. Courage doesn't mean leaping without looking or taking reckless risks. It means taking intentional steps forward, even when it feels uncertain. It means trusting yourself to handle whatever comes next, even if the outcome isn't guaranteed. The truth is, comfort zones don't keep us safe, they keep us small. And while stepping out of them feels scary, staying in them comes at a greater cost: the loss of who you could become. Courage over comfort is a daily choice. It's not always dramatic. Sometimes it's as simple as saying yes when you want to say no, or asking for help when you'd rather stay silent. Each act of courage builds the muscle of transformation, and with every step you take, you grow closer to the person you're meant to be. Be true to yourself. It sounds simple, doesn't it? But in a world full of expectations, opinions, and pressures, living authentically can feel like a radical act. Authenticity isn't about perfection or meeting someone else's definition of success. It's about alignment, bringing your actions, words, and choices in harmony with your values and beliefs. It's knowing who you are and standing firmly in that truth, even when it's inconvenient or unpopular. When we live authentically, we stop performing. We let go of the masks we wear to fit in, to avoid judgment, or to win approval. These masks might protect us temporarily, but they also disconnect us from ourselves. True connection, both with others and with ourselves, requires honesty. Living authentically isn't easy. It often means making hard choices, saying no when it would be easier to say yes, and standing firm when the world pushes back. It's choosing to speak your truth, even when your voice trembles. It's staying committed to what matters most to you, even when it's misunderstood by others. Authenticity doesn't mean you'll never compromise or adapt. It means that when you do, it's a conscious choice, not a sacrifice of who you are. It's about listening to that inner voice, the one that knows your values, your passions, and your purpose. Sometimes that voice is quiet, drowned out by the noise of the world. But when you pause, reflect, and truly listen, it will guide you like a compass. This compass doesn't guarantee an easy path. It might lead you through challenges and moments of doubt, but it also leads you to fulfillment, to relationships built on trust, and to a life that feels meaningful and true. When you align with your authentic self, you give others permission to do the same. You show that it's possible to live boldly, vulnerably, and unapologetically. And in doing so, you create space for deeper connections and a richer, more honest existence. Being true to yourself isn't about being selfish or rebellious. It's about honoring the unique person you are and living in a way that reflects your truth. Because when you let authenticity guide you, you find a life that feels not just lived, but fully alive. Vulnerability isn't weakness, it's strength. It takes courage to show up as you are without the armor of perfection or the mask of control. Vulnerability is about letting yourself be seen, even when it feels risky. It's about sharing your truth, even when it makes your voice tremble. Many of us see vulnerability as a sign of weakness, something to hide or avoid. But in reality, vulnerability is the birthplace of courage, creativity, and connection. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable, you create space for authenticity. You're no longer hiding behind what you think you should be. Instead, you're standing in who you are, flaws and all. Vulnerability isn't about oversharing or exposing everything. It's about being honest, intentional, and open in ways that build trust. It's admitting when you're struggling instead of pretending you have it all together. It's asking for help when you need it, even when pride tells you not to. It's saying, "I love you" first, without knowing if the feeling is mutual. These moments of vulnerability might feel uncomfortable, even terrifying. But they're also the moments that connect us. They remind us that we're not alone, that we all carry fears, dreams, and uncertainties. When you're vulnerable, you invite others to meet you where you are. You give them permission to be real, too. And in that space of shared humanity, trust begins to grow. Relationships deepen when we allow ourselves to be seen, not just in our strengths, but in our struggles. We build connection not by being perfect, but by being honest. Vulnerability isn't a one-time act, it's a practice. It's a decision you make again and again to lean into discomfort rather than run from it. It's choosing to risk rejection in pursuit of real connection. And yes, there will be moments when vulnerability feels like too much. But those are the moments when transformation happens. Because every time you choose vulnerability, you strengthen not just your relationships, but yourself. You discover that you're stronger than your fear. You learn that your truth has power. And you realize that the courage to be vulnerable is the foundation of a life well lived. Failures and setbacks aren't the end, they're stepping stones. They may feel like roadblocks in the moment, but they're often the very experiences that shape our strength. Resilience is what allows us to rise when life knocks us down. It's not about avoiding challenges or never falling. It's about finding the courage to get back up, dust yourself off, and keep moving forward. When things go wrong, it's easy to feel defeated, to let the weight of disappointment hold you back. But resilience reminds us that we are more than our mistakes. It shows us that failure isn't final, it's part of the process. Think of a time when you faced a challenge that seemed insurmountable. At first, it may have felt impossible to overcome. But as you pushed through, you discovered strength you didn't know you had. That's the power of resilience. It doesn't erase hardship, but it transforms how we respond to it. Every setback carries a lesson, even if it's hard to see at first. Resilience teaches us to look for those lessons, to use them as fuel for growth rather than reasons to stop. It's not just about bouncing back, it's about bouncing forward, emerging stronger and wiser than before. Resilience isn't something you're born with, it's something you build. It's forged in the moments when you choose to keep going, even when the path feels steep. It's cultivated through perseverance, self-compassion, and the belief that every struggle has meaning. It doesn't mean ignoring pain or pretending everything's fine. It means acknowledging the difficulty, sitting with it, and then deciding to rise anyway. Resilience grows when you allow yourself to try again, even after a failure. When you take risks, knowing you might stumble, but trusting in your ability to recover. It's not about being unbreakable, it's about being adaptable. Resilience reminds us that challenges don't define us, our response to them does. It shows us that the path to growth isn't always smooth, but it's always worth it. And every time you rise, you reinforce the truth that you are capable of enduring, learning, and thriving. Saying no to things that drain your energy isn't selfish, it's necessary. It's how you make space for what truly matters in your life. Boundaries aren't walls to keep people out, they're guidelines to protect what's inside. They're an act of self-respect, a way of saying, this is what I need to thrive. When you set boundaries, you're prioritizing your mental and emotional well-being. You're acknowledging that your time, energy, and peace are finite resources. Without boundaries, those resources are easily depleted by demands, obligations, and expectations that don't align with your values. It's not always easy to say no. We worry about disappointing others, being misunderstood, or seeming unkind. But every time you say yes to something that doesn't serve you, you're saying no to something that does. Boundaries are how you reclaim that balance. They allow you to be present, focused, and intentional about where you invest your energy. Setting boundaries doesn't mean pushing people away or refusing to help. It means being clear about your limits so you can show up fully where it matters most. It's telling someone, I can't do this right now, but here's what I can do. It's recognizing when something doesn't feel right and choosing to honor that feeling. Boundaries teach others how to treat you, but more importantly, they teach you how to treat yourself. They're an act of self-care that reinforces your worth and your priorities. It might feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you're used to saying yes to everything. But discomfort is part of growth, and every step you take in honoring your boundaries strengthens them. Not everyone will understand or agree with your boundaries. And that's okay. Boundaries aren't about controlling others, they're about protecting your own well-being. When you set and maintain boundaries, you're creating space for the things that truly light you up. You're preserving your energy for the people, goals, and experiences that align with your values. And in doing so, you're not just surviving, you're thriving, living in a way that feels authentic and fulfilling. Be kind to yourself. It sounds simple, but how often do we truly extend that kindness inward? When we make mistakes or face challenges, we're quick to criticize, to judge, to hold ourselves to impossible standards. But would you speak to a dear friend that way? If they were struggling, you wouldn't tear them down, you'd offer comfort, understanding, and support. So why not do the same for yourself? Self-compassion is the practice of treating yourself with care, especially during tough times. It's about recognizing that being human means being imperfect, and that's okay. When you stumble or fall short, self-compassion says you're not alone. Everyone struggles sometimes. It reminds you that mistakes are part of learning, not a reflection of your worth. Self-compassion isn't about letting yourself off the hook or avoiding accountability. It's about creating a safe space for growth by replacing harsh criticism with gentle encouragement. When you talk to yourself with kindness, you build resilience. You give yourself the grace to keep trying, to learn, and to move forward. Imagine carrying the weight of every mistake, every failure, every doubt without relief. Now imagine lightening that load with understanding, patience, and care. That's the power of self-compassion. It doesn't mean you'll never feel pain or disappointment, but it does mean you'll face those moments with a softer, stronger heart. Practicing self-compassion can feel unnatural at first, especially if you're used to being hard on yourself. But like any skill, it grows with practice. Start small, notice your inner dialogue, and ask, would I say this to someone I love? If the answer is no, rewrite the script. Speak to yourself with kindness, even if it feels awkward at first. Over time, self-compassion becomes second nature, and as it does, it fuels your growth. Because when you're kind to yourself, you're more likely to take risks, embrace challenges, and recover from setbacks. You stop holding yourself back with fear and start moving forward with courage. Self-compassion isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. It's the foundation of a healthy relationship with yourself, one that empowers you to be your best, most authentic self. Gratitude shifts your focus from what's lacking to what's present. It's a simple but profound shift, one that changes how you see the world. In a culture that often pushes us to want more, gratitude reminds us of what we already have. It's not about ignoring challenges or pretending life is perfect. It's about noticing the small, meaningful moments that bring light, even in the darkest times. Gratitude is a daily practice, not just an occasional thought. It's pausing to appreciate the sunrise, the laughter of a friend, or the comfort of a quiet moment. It's acknowledging the strength it took to get through a hard day. It's saying thank you not just to others, but to life itself. When you cultivate gratitude, you nurture joy. You create a mindset that finds beauty in the ordinary and abundance in the simple. Gratitude doesn't erase pain or struggle, but it gives you the strength to endure them. It fosters resilience, helping you focus on what's still good and steady when everything else feels uncertain. The practice of gratitude is as much about perspective as it is about habit. It's choosing to see what's right even when it's easier to see what's wrong. It's training your mind to find the silver lining, not out of denial, but out of hope. Gratitude isn't always spontaneous. Sometimes it's a choice, a deliberate act of looking for the good, even on the hardest days. Some days, that good might be as simple as a deep breath, a kind word, or the warmth of a blanket. The more you practice gratitude, the more natural it becomes. It rewires your brain, shifting your focus from scarcity to abundance. Over time, it transforms how you experience life. Gratitude opens doors to connection, helping you see the value in relationships and the kindness of others. It grounds you in the present, reminding you that even amid challenges, there is still much to be thankful for. And as you cultivate gratitude, you cultivate a life that feels fuller, richer, and more aligned with joy. No one thrives in isolation. We're wired for connection, for relationships that nourish our hearts and minds. Life is richer when shared, its joys brighter, its burdens lighter. Surrounding yourself with the right people is not just a luxury, it's a necessity. These are the people who lift you up when you're down. They challenge you to grow, even when it feels uncomfortable. They celebrate your victories, no matter how small, and remind you of your strength when you forget. Connection isn't about quantity, it's about quality. It's not about having a crowd, but about finding those who truly see you. The ones who listen without judgment, who show up when it matters, and who accept you for who you are. Building these connections takes effort and vulnerability. It means opening yourself up, even when it feels risky. It's being willing to share your joys, your fears, and your dreams. It's about reciprocity, giving as much as you take, offering support as much as you seek it. True connection is built on trust, respect, and authenticity. It's not about perfect harmony, but about being real with each other, even when things get messy. It's finding those who stand by you, not just in the good times, but in the hard ones too. These connections become a foundation, a source of strength when life feels overwhelming. They remind you that you're never alone, no matter what challenges come your way. Connection also inspires growth. It exposes you to new ideas, perspectives, and possibilities. The right people push you to be better, not because they demand it, but because they believe in your potential. And as you grow, you lift them too. Connection is a two-way street, a cycle of giving and receiving that enriches both sides. In a world that often glorifies independence, connection reminds us of our shared humanity. It shows us that strength comes not from standing alone, but from leaning on each other. When you cultivate these bonds, you're not just building relationships, you're building a life that feels full, supported, and deeply meaningful. Becoming your best self is a lifelong process. It's easy to get fixated on the destination, the moment when you finally feel like you've made it. But the truth is, the journey itself is where the magic happens. Each step, no matter how small, is progress. Each challenge you overcome, each lesson you learn, is part of what shapes you into the person you're becoming. Celebrating the journey means acknowledging the growth that happens along the way. It's about honoring the moments of effort, even if they don't always lead to a grand achievement. Progress isn't always linear. Sometimes it feels like you're moving forward, and other times it feels like you're stuck. But each moment, even the setbacks, contributes to your evolution. Celebrating the journey means recognizing these moments, not waiting for a perfect ending. It's pausing to appreciate how far you've come, even when you're not where you want to be. Each day is an opportunity to celebrate progress. It could be a new insight, a healthier habit, or a moment of self-reflection that shifts your perspective. It's about being present, finding joy in the small victories that often go unnoticed. The milestones are important, yes, but they're only one part of the picture. The real transformation happens in the quiet moments when you choose to keep going, when you show up for yourself, when you push through doubt and fear. Celebrate the effort. Celebrate the persistence. Celebrate the courage it takes to keep moving, even when the path isn't clear. The journey isn't about being perfect, it's about being real. It's about growing, learning, and evolving. So celebrate the journey, because it's the journey that will lead you to your best self. And in the process, you'll find that the destination isn't a place, but a state of being. As you walk this path to your best self, remember that it's not a race. It's a journey, one filled with twists and turns, challenges and triumphs. Each step, each choice, each moment of growth matters. So embrace imperfection, choose courage over comfort, and live authentically. Let vulnerability be your strength, resilience your foundation, and gratitude your guide. Surround yourself with connection and celebrate every part of the journey, because every part of you is worth celebrating. The road to becoming your best self isn't always easy, but it is always worth it. And as long as you keep moving forward with kindness to yourself, you'll find that the best version of you isn't a distant dream, it's something you're creating every single day. Thank you